Hi, my name's Gina Overton and I'm a Client Director here at Bridgethorne Training Academy. I want today to take you through our whiteboard on unlocking actionable insights, something we feel quite passionate about, and hopefully you will understand more having just watched this very short video and therefore become what we hope are insightful people going forward. So let me start at the beginning, which I think is always a great starting point. There is an issue with facts versus insight, and we know that from our global clients that we work with, but we also know that lots of people use and misuse the word insight. And that's because lots of people don't understand what insight is, but also it means that they tag it with meaning all sorts of different things, which I think just adds to that level of confusion. It's really important that we understand when we're talking about insights, we are actually talking insights, and when we're talking facts, we're talking facts. So what are facts? Facts are data points. They are data points and observations that allow us to understand what's happening. And they are things like EPOS data, Kantar data, major trend data like Mintel, and they come from people like IRI, Nielsen, Kantar, obviously. What are insights then? Slightly different, obviously, very different. They are the why behind the what. So the why is the motivations and behaviours of our customers, our shoppers, our consumers, really understanding that deep understanding of what's going on in their heads. And sometimes that's really quite hard to get to, but we need to understand that to fully develop insights. So here at Bridgethorne we have an insight definition, and I think it really helps start to think about what an insight is versus a fact. So for me, insight is a deep understanding, and deep's a really important word here because what it means is we've gone underneath that surface. We're not talking about what's happening, we're talking about why something is happening. And that allows us to think about why things are happening and what might happen in the future. So it gives us that sense to understand that even though it might not exist today, that something might be there that the customer, the consumer, the shopper might want. And, importantly, has a clear call to action. And when we talk about that action, what we mean there is that actually it's clear to everybody that actually what I should do to unlock that new understanding I have. So it gives us an understanding what advertising we should do, what campaigns we should build, in what way we should promote the product or idea we have. So it really gives a very clear view. So over here we have our insight model, which allows us to work from the very beginning, the starting point of any analysis, project, idea that you might have, right the way through to creating the right actions. And for me, that is the most important thing. Those are the things you want to share with your customers. Those are the things that are going to demand your business puts money and resources behind an idea, for instance. The very first starting point is we call framing. Quite often missed by most, but I think an important 5 or 10 minutes of your life that allows you to understand what am I trying to look at? What question am I trying to answer? What hypothesis am I trying to prove or disprove? And it's a really important stage because it gives you scope for everything else that you do. So once we've understood that question or hypothesis we want to work on, we then move into fact. And that is just literally finding those facts that help us to understand what's happening within that question or that hypothesis. And so by looking at those facts, and we look at many, many different facts, and we look at different lenses, we call them. So we look at whether it's customer data, we look at consumer data, shopper data, we look at macro trends, we look at all these different areas of facts to give us this breadth and depth of understanding so we can really truly build the right level of insight. Once we've got all our facts, we can then move them into insight. And we do that by asking the question why. And that really helps us build on that deep understanding, what's happening underneath the surface. So what are the motivations and the beliefs that are happening and driving people to behave in the way they do? And we do that by asking the question why. And we use 5 whys technique, which is one of the 4 that we actually do teach. And it helps us to understand really deeply what is going on. So we use 5 whys, and ultimately we get to some great insights, and we'll talk about an insight in a minute. Once we've done that, we can think about the implication. Again, another great stage, which actually not many people think about. Implication allows us to think about our key stakeholders, whether that's our customer we're going to go and see with this idea, or whether it's the shopper or the consumer that we're thinking about when we're trying to think of an innovative new idea. And we need to think about, what does that insight mean to them? What if we did something, or what if we did nothing? What would happen? And it allows us to really broaden our thinking before we go into those actions, and then ultimately we can go into actions. And here we brainstorm lots of actions from the implication and the insight, which allows us to then prioritise them into what we do now, what we get going now, and what we can plan for in the future. Gives us a very clear picture of what we need to do and why we've come up with those actions. So let me share with you an example of a great insight. So here's the insight. I struggle to get my kids to eat whole wheat bread at breakfast because it's brown and has bits in it and will not taste as nice as white bread. Perhaps those mothers and fathers out there of you can understand this dilemma that exists with many, many children wanting to eat different things. So what does it need to have in it to make it a great insight? It needs to have a deep level of understanding. And it has that because it has the mother or the father and the kids. It has both perspectives. The mother's struggling and the kids don't like it. So we know and understand both. By the way, this wonderful eye here, often used in insights, often doesn't have to be there as well, but often used because it starts to engage with you instantly. An eye is a really nice word to help that engagement level. So we know this is the mother or the father, and we know it's the kids. What else does it have? It explains the dilemma that's going on. It gives you a really clear view of what's actually happening there. They don't eat whole bread, and because, which is a great word to kind of link it all together, it's brown and has bits in it and will not taste as nice. So it gives you a very clear view of all of the dilemmas that are going on for the children that are stopping them from wanting to eat whole wheat bread. And ultimately gives you a very clear action, as I'm sure you can understand yourself, as to what you would do next. You would create a white looking bread with no bits in it that has all of that whole wheat element and that goodness in it, which obviously helps to explain to both the kid and gives the kids the product that they want and gives the mother or the father the product they want to give their children. Great solution. And that's it for today. I hope that was really useful. If you want more information, obviously let us know. We'd love to be in touch.